Everybody, pop that pussy like this. That's the right there, right on YouTube. We just got completely buried in search because I said the P word right off the beginning. Welcome, everyone, to the Kick-Ass Irreverent Gaming Podcast brought to you by Affable Idiots. This is Respawn Aim Fire. I'm one of your hosts. Chad has never run a marathon, never will, never has been interested in it. We've also got here Adam. What are your running habits and dreams and aspirations? Gumbert.
I don't have any dreams or aspirations. Running is just a thing you do. Obviously, I did a lot when I played football. This weekend enough, I went to a lake, hang out with the family. Awful. I hate going to nature. It's the worst thing ever. But everyone wanted to race me, and I dusted everybody, children included. I was like, I'm shocked because I didn't think I was. I'm not that fast comparatively to people I played football with. But I'm like, I'm faster than all you fuckers. So that was a good time.
Wow, that's amazing. And we've got the man here who we know can ski across the country in an afternoon. Cozy. I don't know how to do this now that your name is Cozy on the screen. Cozy, run away with the answer and tell me how to refer to you now. Cozina? Alex? Do I do Alex?
You could say
Cozina, Cozina.
You could. I was going to say you could just shorten it to like Alex Cozy, aka Cozy Bear Cozina. It's funny. It's funny, we're here today to talk about a little game called Marathon, and you brought up skiing around the country. This past weekend, yesterday on Sunday, I actually embarked on a big old marathon of the bike variety.
Whoa, they call that a triathlon minus the bi of the athlon.
I was going to say one third of a triathlon. This was the Défi Métropolitain, the Metropolitan Challenge bike course organized by Vélo Québec, which is an organization devoted to promoting the riding of bikes in the province of Quebec up here in Canada. Said challenge, it's one of those courses where you can go on the day and you can choose like how long you want to go for, how long you want to come back by, where you want to have your lunch on the course. I chose the 83-kilometer route. I biked 83 kilometers all along the south side of Montreal. I started in Brossard, which is a little suburb/commercial area on the south shore of Montreal. Biked all the way down to a little town called Saint-Michel and biked all the way back up. And let me tell you, it has been raining for like 2 weeks straight in Montreal. And so I assumed, well, it's going to be another just rainy, blustery, sad, cold, sappy day. So I'm not going to wear any sunscreen. Definitely bit me in the ass a little bit there. But I'm very, very, very proud of what I was able to do. Still a little bit tired, but I've mostly recovered by this point.
Two things to note. One, for those of you who are listening who are like, how far did he fucking ride? 83 kilometers is 51.5738 miles.
Hell yeah.
And the second thing I have for you, Cozy, is 2 weeks of rain plus biking. Did you come out of that trip with the giant streak of dookie and dirt all up your back like I used to when I would bike in the rain, and then the water from the tire would spin up and like fling it onto your back, and it looks like some bird just shit down your spine?
That definitely happened a couple of days leading up to the challenge. Oh, wow, that was nuclear loud.
That was
definitely
yummy.
Happened a few days leading up to the challenge where I just biked around the city. But on the day of, it barely rained, so I didn't get a lot of dookie up the ass. Not too much.
If you too want to hear about dookie up the ass on a regular basis live, you can do that on twitch.tv/affableidiots on Monday evenings around 8:30 Eastern Time. You can also catch the dookie up the ass on Wednesday mornings on demand on YouTube and podcast services at 9 a.m. Eastern as well. We've got a little tiny baby show for you today. We've got basically a main quest, some what we've been playing, and an honor console honor roll. That's it. I don't know why roll call was stuck in there in my brain, but we've got some things to talk about for you today. First, housekeeping real quick. We have our barf review for The Outer Worlds is up on YouTube. That includes everyone's opinion, including my own, even though I was in absentia for it. I still wrote in my feelings on the game. We also have a barf game. Breaking news, breaking announcement. This announcement is broken. Broke back announcement. For May, we did a vote, and you all unanimously decided you want us to play Hollow Knight. Because your vote was so strong, your vote actually bled into 2 months. You voted so hard that it actually voted for 2 months worth of votes. So we're playing Hollow Knight for May and June, and also because it's a longer game than most of our other barfs, and also there's some DLC that I would like to play as well.
I will say, we've all played a lot of Metroidvania games. We're used to Metroidvania games being a little bit more on the shorter side, on like the 8 to 11 hour range. Hollow Knight sits at like a 27 hour completion rate if you're just not even trying to get 100% completion in it. So yeah, we made the call with that and the, launch of the Switch 2 coming up, best to give ourselves enough time, as much time as possible to complete Hollow Knight.
I also did look up the Platinum Trophy difficulty and time, and it's rated as 10 out of 10 most difficult Platinum Trophy, and also it takes well over 100 hours. So
incredible.
Not going that route, but we are going to spend a little extra time. So June is also Hollow Knight. So if you are playing Hollow Knight, or if you have played Hollow Knight, you have a few extra weeks to get your opinions to us, or even be on the show as we talk about it. Keep that in mind. We should probably have something for the kids to vote on Patreon. We'll talk about that after the podcast, even if it's like, we'll have some kind of vote in the next weekish for you all to vote on. Speaking of Patreon, patreon.com/respawningfire is where you can go to vote for future barfs, as well as you get early access to our Rafter Dark episodes, like this one from the last month in May. Everyone who's a Patreon subscriber has Rafter Dark episode 4, where we show off the non-gaming part of Cozy's Japan trip. And apparently, what do you all look for in those things again? You're like finding pro wrestlers or gaming people, right? Todd Howard, y'all were finding Todd
game
Howard.
developers. Game developers.
Yeah. Cool.
Were they actually there? You'll have to watch and find out.
Who knows? Maybe they were there, but they're ghosts. They're spooky ghosts. Speaking of spooky ghosts, Marathon might be a ghost this fall. Marathon is having some controversy. This comes from Vicky Blake at IGN. And then we have another Marathon-related story right afterwards. Now, we're going to catch you up. This has actually happened. This is a little tiny bit old news now, but very much still related to the second piece of news here that is fresh off the presses. Destiny 2 developer Bungie is looking to recover its reputation after yet another independent artist accused the studio of lifting their artwork in Marathon. Last week's accusation prompted an immediate investigation and acknowledgement from the studio that, quote, a former Bungie artist had indeed used Fern Hook's artwork without compensation or credit. Then, on Friday night, Marathon game director Joe Ziegler and art director Joe Cross apologized on a live stream that featured no Marathon art or footage at all, as the team was still scrubbing all our, quote, still scrubbing all our assets to make sure that we are being respectful of the situation.
If the development of Bungie was an anime, would you say that this has been JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Because it's Joe Ziegler and Joe Cross. Yeah.
Moving on. This is again old news, but like TLDR is they didn't just accidentally make some things that were like it. Like they straight up stole entire pieces of this person's artwork, including their logo and all sorts of things that were in. And it's not just like a poster that was on a wall somewhere. It's like the main design aesthetic for the game basically was straight up lifted from this artist. So that's going to be a lot to recover from. Second news story. Marathon might be delayed. This is coming from Paul Tassi at Forbes by way of the Sacred Symbols Plus podcast from Colin Moriarty and friends. This is from that article. Now we have a worrying report from Colin Moriarty on Sacred Symbols where he says that all paid marketing for Marathon this quarter has been canceled by Sony. And here's the quote. I was told by someone familiar with marketing plans in a key overseas market that there are now no plans to do paid marketing for Marathon at all. I don't know if those plans were affected by what has recently happened or if that has always been the plan or whatever, but it is being considered a fairly unusual move for a game of this high profile. What are your thoughts, y'all? What's going on?
Ooh, man. Ooh, man. Ooh, man.
Ooh, man? That's the thoughts?
Ooh, man. Ooh, man.
That's definitely not the sound of me trying to come up with a more cogent thought while I'm out for time.
The thing I would say is all of it seems crazy and messy. The thing that matters most is them saying, cut that marketing budget to zero, which is insane to hear about. because I don't know that. Yeah, it's in the full story that they cut it to 0 completely for the quarter, which means that game's not coming out in September, because you don't say we're not budgeting this game at all and then still expect it to come out. I don't think it's canceled. I know that's what people are like, oh, is it canceled? Is it delayed?
No.
Probably delayed because it costs a lot of money and they expect it to be good. But for anybody who has a fantasy critic and has Marathon, maybe it's a good counter pick, because maybe that game doesn't come out this year, because maybe that game needs another year in the oven to deal with all the stolen art backlash. And apparently the playtest being like, it's fine. It's what it needs to be a bigger hit than a miss. Like, again, Concord is on everyone's mind. I don't think it just needs to work. I expect the game to play good, but it needs to be a hit, not just it needs to play good. It needs to work. So I guess you got to take time, because the way it is right now seems doubtful. Well, that's what Sony's lawyers are telling you, and their budgeting department is telling you that game is not ready. So that's the only real point, is oh yeah, that game's not this year at all, not even a little bit.
And of course, this ties into what you're saying, but I think also just giving not Bungie, not Destiny 2, Marathon a little bit of space, just so that opinions on it can cool down. It has happened many times in the past that a video game will release a live service game of some sort, and initial impressions, hype leading into the game will be incredibly positive. The game will underdeliver, and then over the course of years and years, they'll retool the game until it's ultimately as great as people wanted it to be at launch. Games like Final Fantasy XIV, No Man's Sky are big examples of what I'm talking about. But I feel like it's very rare that you have an example of a game that comes out at launch, isn't up to snuff, and then manages to be reworked and made into a better game over time, while also having initially a very poor reception at launch and being just hated and disliked and kind of reviled in the lead up to it even coming out to begin with. I think that they want the vibes to be as good as they possibly can be going into the launch of this, regardless of whether it's a hit right out the gate or it's a bit of a fixer-upper over time.
I see kind of 3 different explanations. One is the most benefit of the doubt kind of thing is, it's better to not talk about this game at all right now, just to hopefully let things die down and let it all blow over. So we're not going to market this. We don't have plans to market this at all the next 3 months, which is, again, leading up to launch. And maybe it's a hopefully streamers will do the work that we want for us kind of thing. I don't think that's a likely solution, but I see that as a possible explanation. The other one that I think is a little bit more benefit of the doubt is, we had all of these marketing plans and all of these assets made for the game that were all using this stolen art. And we're going to have to figure, first of all, there's going to be this investigation to figure out how much of this game's art and art style or things like that are even possibly linked to this artist, and not have to worry about, not only take all of that out of the game, but then also have to redo all of our marketing around it. So we might as well just pull our marketing budget in total for now until we can figure out what that's going to cost us to redo all of that and resubmit. That is a little bit more likely to me, but of course the most likely thing is, don't release it right now. We don't need to release this while people are soured on it. We don't need to release this while it's a potentially legal minefield. We need to take a moment, let things die down, come back later at a time TBD and say, hey, we're relaunching our re-reveal of Marathon, and this is how it's changed, and this is how it's different, and this is why you should be excited for it for 2026. So I think that's the most likely thing that's going to happen. Of course, all of this, again, is not confirmed by Sony to be delayed or anything like that, but I think that's the most likely solution that we're going to find. Oddly enough, also, just checked our fantasy critic, no one has Marathon in either of our 2 leagues that we made. That's wild.
I wonder why.
Because I was about to counterpick that shit right now.
I hope we get something nice from Sony at Summer Games Fest that will release in the latter half of this year. We've heard about there supposedly being some Greek side spin-off God of War game. If that game came out in the fall of this year, I think that would be really clutch.
Just give me God of War anything.
Yeah.
It'd also be really cool, not to turn this into a God of War thing, but man, it'd be really cool to play Atreus wanting to hey, let me get back to my roots as a Greek, not a demigod, because he's, I don't know. Is that a demigod? I know demigod in Greek mythology is you're half god, half human. But what is half god, half Roman, or half Norse? Not god, but giant.
I was going to say his mother is a giant. I mean, I think he would just be considered a god. I don't think
He's
anyone
just cool.
really.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
Here's
what
the
he
thing,
is. He's just
though.
cool.
Chad, keep that white boy up north. We don't need him coming down colonizing the Middle East and the Greek area. We don't need him. Stay up there, white
He's
boy.
gonna get a sunburn down there.
I remember before we move on, I remember a while ago reading a theory on Reddit, which is that so you discover, slight spoilers for the recent God of War games, that a lot of the giants that seemingly died out in Jotunheim actually escaped and are now in some other part of the world. And that's what Atreus is trying to find. And someone posited, what if the giants returned to not Greece, but Rome, and basically set themselves up as like new versions of the Greek gods. And that's how we get the Roman gods. That's how we get Jupiter.
Oh.
It's a god impersonating Zeus, but he's like, I'm not going to call myself Zeus. I'm Jupiter.
Well, here's the question, though. This is where it all. At first, it's fiction, so it doesn't really matter. Wouldn't the timeline be weird to go from Greek to Norse back to Roman? Because how close were the Romans and the Greeks' timeline of pantheon? But again, it doesn't matter. It's all silly. What we need to do is follow what Ridley Scott did, and the idea that Jesus was actually an alien. Let's follow that plot line. Again, Kratos fighting Jesus is where I've always wanted this series to go. Let's loop in the engineer, big white alien man is actually Jesus. Let's do that too.
In God of War 2, there is a mural that you can come across in the Temple of the Fates that actually depicts the birth of Jesus Christ. So he is canonically part of the God of War universe.
Trey's got to go beat him up, show him who's boss.
Maybe.
And the Xenomorph shows up.
All right, well, we'll have to wait until we see more from Sony, whether it's Marathon, God of War, or anything else related. But we have some things that we did play this week that we don't have to wait anymore to hear about. Cozy, you're playing some Death Stranding. There's maybe some Jesus-y type stuff. Hold on, real quick. Adam, go.
Because we're being silly about God of War. Really, though, where the fuck is, I forget her name, where's Thor's daughter's spinoff game? That's what we really need next.
Oh, yeah. What
Give me a
her
Lost
name?
Legacy style, shorter. It's something that sounds like Thor, but it's whatever. Because she's got, spoilers for God of War. She's got his hammer. Thor's daughter has the hammer. Just saying.
Let's see here.
Is it Thrud or something like that? Yeah, something like that.
Thrud.
It has to be Thrud. It can't be Thrud. That sounds stupid.
No. Yeah.
Thrud sounds less stupid, but still stupid.
It's Thrud, 100%. Anyways, Death Stranding. Let's go talk about walking around in the mud.
Well, before I talk about Death Stranding,
I found it really weird too that in God of War Ragnarok, like the collector's edition came with Thor's hammer, and it's never something that you get to use. And it's like, why? Why do I have this? It looks cool. All right, go Cozy.
Before I talk about Death Stranding, I want to talk a little bit about a game that I literally beat literally minutes before I jumped into the call for tonight's podcast. This is a world exclusive in terms of my thoughts on this game, and that game is Gears of War 5. I have finally done it. I've finally beaten every mainline Gears of War game. I haven't beaten the Gears Tactics game, which I believe is just called Gears Tactics. I didn't beat the Gears Funko Pop game, which I don't even remember what that one is called. But I beat
Gears
all
Pop?
the mainline ones. Beat Gears Pop, there it is. But I beat all the mainline numbered ones and Judgment and
Okay.
Aftermath. Gears 5, I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Coming off of Gears 4, I was like, overall, had a lot of fun with Gears 4 as well. I thought it was a good Force Awakens-like, but I thought some of the balance of some of the enemy encounters in the game was a little bit off. And JD, who I will definitely misname as JD Vance at some point over the course of this discussion, is definitely not the most compelling protagonist in a third-person shooter. Gears 5, shifts the attention towards Kate, which is Laura Bailey's character, which I think was the right call, because even in Gears of War 4, I was like, this is definitely the more interesting character in this particular saga. The level design is generally as strong as it's ever been. Thing that I was really surprised about in this game is how much I ended up enjoying a lot of the special abilities that the game gives you by way of Jack. Jack is the little invisible flying robot that's introduced very early on in the Gears of War series. He mostly exists in the prior games to help open up doors for you, help hack into computers. In this game, they actually introduced like a mini little skill tree with a bunch of little abilities that he can use that give you little advantages and buffs in combat. Initially, when they introduced this early on in the game, I was like, I don't really want a skill tree in my Gears of War game. Like, I had that moment where I was like, is this going to be a rethread of Halo 5, where Halo 5 had so much like trendy, like of the moment popular mechanics and other first person shooters that were kind of Frankensteined onto the Halo formula, and it kind of lost a lot of its identity in the process. But I actually found Jack's abilities and the little skill tree that they had going on with him very helpful and a lot of fun. I loved one of the abilities that you have access to via Jack is you can turn invisible, and there are a lot of encounters later on in the game that I will admit I cheesed a little bit by just going invisible and knocking off enemies one by one. Overall, though, still a lot of fun. Definitely a few combat encounters here or there, though, where I definitely was not having as much fun. The final boss is a real piece of shit that I ended up just slowing the difficulty down to the lowest possible rung because I was like, I just want to get this over with. And I got a podcast to do in a few minutes. Overall, I mean, I'm looking forward to when they eventually kind of pick up this storyline and kind of continue it in the numerical Gears of War 6 that we will eventually get years and years and years into the future. But I'm excited to check out and see what they have in store for us for E-Day. Also, one final thing. So real quick, you guys, you've beaten Gears of War 5, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, I will say, this game has a lot of pretty cool moments. The moment at the end, I don't want to spoil it, but the moment that happens at the end of the penultimate chapter in the game, where the game is like, do you want to do this? Or do you want to do this? I was like, oh, wow. Like, this is one of those things where it's like, I never would have anticipated that a Gears of War game would give me this sort of a, let's just say, choice and leave it at that. And I now have many questions going forward of how they're going to resolve this in the future, because you'd have to imagine that they would probably want to go one way or the other. But when that moment popped up, I was like, wow, they actually went there, and I'm very, very pleasantly surprised in that regard. So kudos to the team at the Coalition. And now we wait for E-Day.
Alex, can I ask you two questions about your experience? When you play this, first of all, did you play this co-op with anybody or solo?
No, I soloed it.
When you play solo, does it give you a choice of who to play as, or do you...
No, you play as JD, aka The Vance, in the first 3 chapters, and then he plays Kate in the rest of the game.
Gotcha. Are you aware of the, like, when you play co-op with somebody and somebody's playing as Kate and somebody's playing as, I guess it's JD, Vance?
I think it's Dell, isn't it?
Is it Dell?
Dell accompanies you for most of the rest of the game after the switch off.
One of my favorite things about playing Gears 5 is playing it with a friend online, and he... Like, there are moments where, as Kate, something's happening to me, and I'm seeing things one way, and he's seeing things a very different way, and he's like, "Why are you doing that? Come back here. What's going on?" And like, to me, I'm like, "What are you talking about? What's going on? I'm running from this thing," and just the way that those two games, like those two perspectives on the same exact thing that's happening at the same time, are very different. And I just don't know do you get that as a single player? Like, do you understand? Like, is that something that is even telegraphed to you at all?
No, not really. I mean, that's one of my other big critiques of Gears of War 5, aside from some of the combat encounters being a bit bullshit, is the enemy, not the enemy, but the companion AI is like really not great in this game, especially if you're playing on higher difficulties. So there are very few moments where I was like, I wonder what the AI is up to, because normally I knew what the AI was up to, and it was getting downed, and I have to go and run over to them and help them up.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay.
And so in addition to Gears of War 5, I do want to briefly put out there that I have been playing a little bit of Hollow Knight relatively early on in the game. Obviously, don't have much to say right now, nor would I even want to say much right now, because obviously we'll be saving our thoughts for the end of June. And I have been playing, yes, the one and only Death Stranding. I was inspired to go back to Death Stranding after many years of not playing it, after just seeing all the positive press coverage for Death Stranding 2 on the beach, seeing things like the marathon stream that Mike and Roger did over at Kind of Funny. I thought that was a lot of fun, and I was like, I should probably go and give this game another shot, because I previously played this game back this would have been around March of 2020, so right kind of at the onset of the pandemic. Actually, it was probably a little bit later in the year, like in the summer. And I enjoyed it fine, but I eventually reached a point where I was like, I've kind of had enough, and I don't feel particularly motivated to keep playing. I've now logged a good, probably 20 hours into Death Stranding. I'm about halfway through the game. I'm further than I previously was when I stopped last time. And I'm here to tell you that I love this game with many caveats. Caveats such as the bosses are generally terrible, and whenever I get caught by the BTs, I generally run away from them instead of trying to fight the BT bosses. There are many moments of the game where you're just getting rained on when BB isn't doing his thing, or BB, who knows, for narrative reasons, might not even be present, and it's just real annoying. The game's tutorial section at the beginning is incredibly long. The game repeats itself a lot. There are many pain points that I can kind of prick apart when it comes to talking about this game. But when this game flies, it soars. I just really, on this particular playthrough, fell in love with the process of walking from destination to destination, reading up on the lore, helping me understand the phenomenon that is the Death Stranding in this world. This game is really, really special, and I'm gonna kind of cut my opinions on the game short a little bit, because as it has been cozy tradition in the past, sometimes I'll see games to completion and come away with a slightly different opinion of them by the time I roll credits. So I don't want to gush super hard about it right now and then come back 2 weeks later and be like, it's like a 6 out of 10. So I'll just say that right now I've really been loving this game. I'm really happy that I came back to this game. Only thing is, I'm a little bit concerned now. By the time that I beat this game, I'll probably be 40 hours in, and I don't want to go into Death Stranding 2 being like, oh man, I am Death Strandinged out at this point. But we shall see.
Dope. That was for all of you joining us via Raid. What's up?
Hey!
CG Danny B in the chat.
Welcome, Raiders.
If you want to hear more from CG Danny B, who's right now in the chat, go listen to last week's episode where they talk about PAX, all that fun stuff they saw last week at PAX. So yeah, we just talked about what Cozy played this week. We're going to transition into, I'm so excited and curious, Adam, about whatever Mr. P is. Tell me what Mr. Pibb, the video game, is that you are.
What Mr. Pibb is up to. Yeah, by the way, shout out to Danny and for the raid and everything. And we listened to that last week's episode. So Mr. P is not Mr. Pibbs, not Mr. Pepper, which was before he got his doctorate. No, I've just been playing, I haven't been playing a ton lately. I did play Marvel Rivals, though. We got Marvel Rivals got an announcement of Ultron is the next character who comes out in a week. I'm like, dope. But they had an event. It's Hellfire Gala, so it's all the characters are dressing up real sexy like the Met Gala. And I had unlocked Patch, which for those of you who don't know, is when Wolverine puts on a white suit and has a patch on. It's a very famous run, and he just looks dapper in a white suit. And I've never had to grind so hard in a game for a fucking outfit than I did for Patch in Marvel Rivals. Let me tell you, because you have to play every day. There's secret objectives you got to do. It took me a good week and a half to unlock that fucking costume, but I have it, so now I can be Wolverine in a white suit. So that was totally worth it.
Was it named after, white suit, maybe like a doctor's coat, maybe Patch Adams? Was it named after Robin Williams?
I think his name's Patch because he has an eye patch.
Oh, that makes more sense.
So, silly enough.
Also, Patch Adams is named after a real doctor, Patch Adams. That's
really?
based on a true story. Yeah.
Shout out to Robin Williams for that work. Do you remember, you saw Wolverine in Deadpool, right?
Yes.
And the montage where he's trying to get all the Wolverines. Mm-hmm. And there's a montage where he goes to a Wolverine who's sitting at a poker table. That is Patch, because he's wearing a white suit and he's got an eye patch on. You'll look it up, you'll find it. Very fun. But I was going to do this last, but I'll do it now because Danny's here. So again, we were at PAX. We have a PAX show last week. Check that out. I was able to talk about that I saw the 6-1 Indie Showcase early, but I could not talk about what was in it. So I want to shout out, now that it's out, everyone can go watch it. 6-1 Indie Showcase happened last week. They had, I think it was like 46, 47 games or something like that, more than 40 games. They showed off a lot of really cool indie stuff. Shout out to the people over there at 6-1 Indie. I've got a couple I want to point out that were really, really cool. First up, and Chad, I know I didn't prep you ahead of time, so you don't have to pull trailers or anything. It's fine. A game called One Way Home, which is sort of, think of like this weird post-apocalyptic city, and it's sort of like Insight or Little Nightmares in like your 2D, like going through the city and like there's monsters everywhere. That was a ton of fun. That one really piqued my interest. We've already known about it, but PI or Mouse PI for Hire was also in the 6-1 Indie Showcase, which is the first person Doom-like shooter that's all black and white and looks like Steamboat Willie. Kind of an idea. Yeah. They had a trailer for that, and that game's super dope. I'm looking forward to that whenever it comes out. And then the one that Danny wasn't in my showing, so we didn't see it, but there's our boy Jacob McCourt, who we all like. There's a picture of Jacob looking super, super shocked and like staring into the camera like flabbergasted, kind of an idea. And it was about Hotel Barcelona, which is a 2.5D action game, but it's from Swery and Suda51. That's why people were like, oh, you recognize those names if you like weird Japanese games. Yeah. But they collaborated to make this new game called Hotel Barcelona, which they showed the trailer at 6-1 Indie Showcase, so that was super cool. So I want to shout out Jacob for looking crazy on that one.
If you Google Hotel Barcelona, there's just a really cool looking hotel.
Just a dope hotel,
in Barcelona.
Maybe put game at the end if you want to find this one. Another cool one, I didn't know it at the time, but one of the people watching was the developer of this game. And I believe it's the first game they've ever made, and they're like 21 years old or something. But it's called Blue Ridge Hunting. And Chad, you'll like this. It's a kind of like a first-person PS1 aesthetic kind of a thing, but you're in like the Appalachian Mountains dealing with like Mothman and Sasquatch or whatever. You're like a dude who like runs like a VHS, like, I'll go take care of the monsters in the woods for you. But it takes place in our where we grew up in our neck of the woods, and it's really cool. And I think it's just made by one person who's like 21 years old. So it's like, shout out.
It has strong, like, inscription.
Yeah.
When you're not playing cards, inscription vibes.
Yeah, that one looked dope. And I was really into it. And then the one more thing is that 6-1 Indie is now doing publishing. So they're now publishing games.
Whoa!
So shout out to them. We couldn't tell anybody, or they said they would send an assassin to kill us, but that is super dope to like these people that I've known for like almost a decade or whatever, watch their stuff, enjoy them, hang out with them whenever we get a chance to. And it's like, oh, hey, we went from like a kind of funny fan group to doing indie game podcasts and coverage to like now we're doing showcases and publishing indie games. And it's like, fucking shout out to y'all for out here doing the work. So just shout out to 6-1 in general. Shout out to Danny for being there. Danny didn't watch it with me because he thought he was too good. He tried to big time me, but he's my son. I want him to do good, and it's all fine. So yeah, shout out to 6-1 Indie. If you have a chance, go watch that and wish list all those fun indie games.
Blue Ridge Hunting, real also quick. 4-player online co-op.
Yeah, it looks dope. Looks really cool.
Real quick, for my own curiosity, I went to booking.com and I looked up hotels in Barcelona. And I'd like to tell you about the most expensive and least expensive hotels you can get in Barcelona. Most expensive is called Close Beach, Sagrada, and City Center. Looking at it, it seems like it's just an apartment because it says 3-bedroom apartment. Costs 11,236 Canadian dollars. Now, mind you, that's Canadian, so it's
like
probably a little bit
bucks.
less.
Yeah.
But still a fair bit. The cheapest is called In-Out. It's spelled I-N-O-U-T, so I'm pretty sure they're just trying to say it's the kind of place that you can go in and out. It is a bed in a 10-bed mixed dormitory room. 93 Canadian dollars a night.
Interesting.
11,000 Canadian dollars is 8,000 US dollars right now.
Yeah. So 93 would be like free, a night free in a gross bed. Shout out to that.
Was $67.76.
When I was in Barcelona a couple of summers ago, we got to stay at a family friend's house. So I actually have never had the experience of staying in a hotel in Barcelona, even though I've been to Barcelona.
Well, check out that indie game when it comes out. Next up, though, Chad.
You know what's a really funny Canadian number? $94.70.
Does it equal 69 American dollars?
It equals 69 American dollars. Yeah, it does.
Nailed it. Love that. I like how you reverse did that. You're like 69 American dollars. What does that equal?
Well, no one wants to know 69 Canadian dollars.
Yeah,
that's like a weird online fetish. Like
absolutely
deep web.
Nasty. Next up, I played Doom: The Dark Ages.
Whoa!
New Doom came out. Been playing through that a little bit. It is Doom, except for now it's in the Dark Ages. No, it's a little bit throwback, sort of a prequel idea. But the way that it plays, so we've all played Doom 2016 and Eternal here because we viewed Eternal as a barf game. This one sort of, Eternal was sort of like very like fast paced. You got to constantly keep moving and all that. And this one's supposed to be stand and fight. But so you do feel Doomslayer feels more like a tank, which to me feels super, super good. I love that shield. Holy shit, I could throw that shield around all day. Straight up Captain America, like, let me throw my chainsaw shield around. But it's just like you'll go into an arena and there's a bunch of ads, like there's a bunch of zombies that like take no penalty or like they're not hard to kill at all. And then there's only like a big boss. So you're running around like, let me just destroy 50 dudes and then like beat up the big guy. And then all the weapons and the armor and stuff are cool. And I like I like playing a linear game, dude. It's just like you walk through this path, kill all these dudes, get a cool weapon, move on. It's gorgeous. And it feels super good to play. And it's like, yeah, shout out. The people who make Doom know how to make a game that feels good when you go around and shoot stuff. But I've really, really enjoyed that. I'm about halfway through it, I think. So that is a ton of fun. I will keep playing that one.
That's one of those games that is going to be very high on my, hey, what game should I play for consideration for Game of the Year list at the end of the year.
Yeah, you'll have fun. So as far as me, I'm the outlier and I like Eternal more than 2016. But I feel like I still like this more than 2016 as well. I don't know. When I finish it, I'll see how much I like compared to Eternal. But I do. I mean, honestly, these 3 games have been very good. So that's dope. And the last one I played was a little game called Monster Train 2.
Monster Train 2?
Yeah, this is for all those sickos out there. So Monster Train is a roguelike deck builder, think Slay the Spire, except for just you are pulling cards to like defend the engine of a train, a monster train, if you will. And the first one is super well liked and super well respected and very, very fun and good. Like people who are into those games will drop hundreds of hours into those. And the sequel came out, and it's the first game, but more polished and more stuff in it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I could easily lose 30 hours of this game in the next month if I wanted to, because it's just one of those like. So there's this thing, right? Roguelike deck builders. You've got Inscription and you've got Slay the Spire, and this is definitely more Slay the Spire than Inscription, but all of those games are very good, and Monster Train 2 continues to be good. It's coming up in an upcoming segment. Maybe it's one of the highest rated games of the year. That's all I'll say. We'll get there in a second, but it deserves all the hype. And if you've played the first one or even been interested in that genre, it is like one of the best in that genre. So,
is the train itself a monster, or is it a train for transporting monsters, or both?
I think it's both, because the engine of the train is like a heart. It's like alive. Whoa. And it spits out fire if they get. So basically, what it is, it's like you draw your cards and you can place your monsters and do your attacks or whatever. But there's 4 levels to the train, and they come in at the bottom and they move up if you don't kill them. And the top level of the train is the engine, so the engine will fight back as well as the people you place on the lower levels to stop the bad guys. So there's monsters, and it is a monster, and there's different factions. Like there's a dragon faction and like angels and devils, and it's all over the place, but it is super cool. So yeah, check out Monster Train 2 if you like. That's it. I didn't do much. It just took a lot of time fucking unlock and patch. Oh my god. It took me forever. But
I'm seeing conflicting reports. Oh, Monster Train 2.
Mm-hmm.
Google's AI tells me is only on Xbox cloud gaming and Microsoft Windows, which makes me think it's like PC cloud gaming. But then it pulls out this thing from a Monster Train 2 trailer. It says out now on PC, Switch, Xbox, and PS5.
It's almost like Google AI is bullshit.
I know, right?
And kind of fucking sucks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I know for sure it's definitely on Steam as well as Xbox. I also believe it's on everything. I might just be...
Game Informer says PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Switch,
yeah, it's on everything.
Okay, cool.
Check that out wherever you want. And don't listen to Google AI.
Fucking Fucking AI. Dope. I might check that out as soon as tonight. We'll see. Okay. Is that everything you played? Is that all? Cool. I have a couple of short things to say. One, putting a lot of time into Hollow Knight Void Heart Edition. That's our barf game of the month. Backlog accomplishment with Respawn and Friends. So that's what you all voted for us to play. And again, we're playing that for May and June because it's a longer game and there's some DLC in the Void Heart Edition that I want to get through.
Real
Cozy,
quick,
go.
Actually,
say what you have to say.
On the subject of the DLC in Void Heart, I actually looked this up. All the DLC that was added to the Void Heart edition was actually later added back into the Switch and PC version of the game via a patch. So if you're playing the game on Switch, you don't have the Void Heart edition, but you do have the DLC. Just wanted to put that out there.
But then you're also playing on Switch,
playing along.
So why would you want to do that, you know?
Yeah, do you know when that patch was done? Because I played it on Switch, I think, back in like 2019.
I mean, it has to have been quite a while ago. I can look it up while you talk.
Yeah, look it up while I talk. Look it up. I did not play more Expedition 33. But I did think about that game fucking every single day. There was a day this week. First of all, Expedition 33 is going to be very hard to beat for me for Game of the Year because it is, as 2 weeks ago's episode was called, like Game of My Life. This game is incredible. It is super special. It has amazing storytelling and all of these kinds of the gameplay, all of it. All of it's amazing. One day we'll do a spoiler cast with Jerica and maybe Audrey if Audrey... One of my favorite quotes of all time is when we were doing an old not Jeopardy game show here. I was like, hey, somebody's out. Does anybody want to stand in for that person? Does anyone want to like join the Jeopardy game? And Audrey replied, I would if I was a different person. Because she's not a sociable, I want to be on camera and joke around kind of person. So we'll probably never get her on a podcast, but it'd be great because I spent literally this week sat on my living room floor for an hour texting Audrey all sorts of shit about the ending of this game. Well, not spoiling it for her, but like she had just finished it and we were just texting back and forth while my dog was looking at me like, you're sitting on the floor to play with me and you're not playing with me. What's going on? And then last night I listened to the soundtrack a little bit more and I'm like, fuck. I'm going to go play New Game Plus today. I didn't, but every day it's a struggle to not go back and just play more of this game. I already have the Platinum Trophy. There's no reason for me to play this again other than to get baguettes as weapons. But
that's an insane sentence you just said.
It's the draw is real.
Real quick, just going back to the whole Hollow Knight situation. So I was slightly tangled up and confused. In fact, what happened with Hollow Knight is Hollow Knight released first on PC and the Switch, got all of its DLC there first, and then the Xbox PlayStation version of the game was basically, hey, here's Hollow Knight with all the DLC that came out on Switch and PC first.
Gotcha.
So,
was it all free DLC on Hollow Knight? I mean, on Switch and PC, or was it?
I believe yes. Okay. I believe yes, it was all free.
Well, then maybe I played it all before, maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't even know it was there. Maybe it wasn't there at all. Who knows? But I'm playing it again now. Last thing on here, everyone knows who's been listening to the show, every time elliptical and or cardio machine right now is Pokemon time for me. I'm playing some kind of Pokemon game while I am working out. And so I've been, for the last like month and a half, working my way through Pokemon Sword. And the symbols here, or the letters here are Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield Crown Tundra DLC. That's what those, I had to, that was really tough for me to remember what those letters stood for just there. I had a really great time. Sword, y'all, I think is like top 3 favorite Pokemon games, I think. And then the Crown Tundra DLC, yeah, there's that cool like roguelite, go get these legendaries from fucking outer space mode, but also just like the regular storyline, like get other legendaries like the Reggie Pokemon and the what are the ones called from Black and White?
Ultra Beasts. Not the Ultra Beasts. Black and White.
The ones like Virizion and Verizon Wireless and Terrakion and
the 3/4 swordsman legendary Pokemon.
Yeah. Those are cool.
Because they're based
got that little
on
rainbow pony at the end.
They're based on the 3/4 Musketeers. That's their thematic.
Gotcha. Yeah, so like it did all of those quests, got all the fucking legendary birds. Like that was a cool, like the Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres have Galarian versions of them that are really cool looking, and just like the way you have to track those down and cut them off is a little frustrating, but also cool. Yeah, had a blast with that thing. Game is done. moving on to Pokemon Emerald. Oh, yeah.
Oh, here we go. Pokemon Emerald, favorite, not only my favorite Pokemon game, my favorite video game of all time. I realize that I'm doing myself a disservice saying that because now I'm setting up incredible expectations for your playthrough of the game that I know aren't possibly going to be met, but I love Emerald a lot. I hope you enjoy it.
I am playing this on my analog pocket, which makes things a little bit difficult to do on the elliptical because this is real life on an analog pocket with the actual cartridge. And if you don't know, analog pocket does not have any kind of like Bluetooth built in. The only way you can hook up a controller to it is if it's in the dock connected to a TV. And you also can't have any kind of Bluetooth audio in it. So I have these wired headphones linked to it, and I can't like have it sitting on the thing while I play with a little wireless controller like I could on my Switch or my iPad. So I'm having to hold this thing in front of my face while I'm playing it on the elliptical, and it's like, it's not ideal, but it's cool. It's cool as hell. Anyway, so yeah, playing Pokemon Emerald as my workout game. I just got to the first gym, like first real life gym, not the one you go to and it's like, I'm your dad. Come back and fight me later, you weak piece of shit. And then the second gym that you get to is the real first gym leader, and you fight her, and it's a rock gym, and she's named something that's a rock pun or something like that.
Roxanne.
Roxanne, that's it. There you go. You don't have to put out that red light. That's it. That's what I'm playing this week. Let's move on to our quest log. Bing bong done. Quest log's done. Moving on to our segment from Adam. Segment from... That's Hollow Knight, like just regular ass Dirtmouth theme song.
Give me Cult of Personality in segment from Adam form.
A segment from Adam. Oh, God, that hurt my throat a little bit.
I don't know if you've heard Cult of Personality before.
Cult of Personality. I can't do that voice.
Yourself, bro. Chad's dying.
I can't do that voice.
All right, so what I have done, we're going to do a little bit of meta madness. Ooh. Looking at the best rated games from the month of May, and then a quick check-in on our Fantasy Critic League. I don't remember if I did this for April or not, so whatever, it is what it is. I think
you were dead for April or something.
No, that's not true. I don't know. But these are the ones from May. The best rated games of May, according to Metacritic, which isn't the way that OpenCritic does points, but whatever, doesn't matter. Number 1, actually, 1 through 3 are all tied on this list. Number 1, Despalote at an 89.
Despalote.
The game where... It's like the indie game where it's like made of pictures of like real Brazil during like the World Cup, like back in the 90s, something crazy. It's some cool art game. Monster Train 2 at an 89. Oh, I told you it was going to come up again, Chad. Whoa. There it is. And then number 3, also at an 89, Sea of Stars DLC. Thronebreaker? Throne Watcher?
Throne Watcher.
Throne of the Clock Watcher?
I just put Sea of Stars DLC. Those are all at an 89 on Metacritic.
Throes of the Watchmaker.
Nailed it. No problem. Doom the Dark Ages at an 85. And then Duck Detective, The Ghost of Glamping. There's a second Duck Detective game, which is an 80. Something about Ghost of Glamping or something nonsense. I didn't write it down.
Duck Detective, The Ghost of Glamping.
Nailed it. Look at this guy, smart. So,
what's the name of that duck game from PAX 2 years ago, Cozy, that won like Game of the Show for you?
Duck Paradox.
How did you have that?
Oh my God, you had a duck ready to go.
Literally always at my desk. I keep it here all the time.
That's wild. But yeah, so 5 games on the list that are above an 80 for the month. 3 of them are all an 89, so it seems like a pretty good month to check some stuff out. So Chad, you have to check out Monster Train because it's the best rated game of the month.
I'm literally Googling Monster Train PlayStation right now to find out how much it is. It's $190 in Hong Kong money. That's not helpful. Come on.
That's not here. Yeah. And that's it. Oh, actually, hold on a second. I'm going to check out our...
It's $25 on PS5.
Yeah. There you go. It's not too bad.
$44.99 if you want the Monster Train collection of both games.
Of both, yeah?
Whoa.
I'd say just play 2.
Choo-choo.
We're going to check on
It's on Game Pass, yeah?
Yeah, it's a Game Pass. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll get Game Pass for a month and play that and Doom.
Check it out. Cool. All right, so our Fantasy Critic, where you draft games like fantasy football, except for its video game scores based on OpenCritic. I don't remember the last time we did this. I don't know the pickups, but I'll just go through the scores for the meantime.
Hot.
Number 1, just because based on where they are on the ranking, not because of where they are in points, Exploding Doors Productions. Better name than last year. That's for damn sure. Cozy
What
has
was your
48.
name last year, Cozy? I don't remember.
I don't know. Cozy Bear Productions.
Yeah,
LLC,
something not
maybe?
very good. Yeah, it was awful, whatever it was.
I thought it was great.
It was bad. Exploding Door Productions from Cozy. It's Cozy teams. You currently have 48 points. You have 3 games scored. Monster Hunter Wilds, Avowed, and Blueprints might be the new one. I don't remember if we talked about it last time, but Blueprints got you 19 points because that's an 89 on OpenCritic, so very good. All your games are 19, 10, and 19, so pretty good so far.
Yeah. Games that I have upcoming are Metroid Prime 4, Night Rain, Lies of P, the DLC, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Kirby Air Riders. I still have 2 games that I got to pick up at some point. It's really, I'm really very much in the, I just got to wait it out at this point, see how things net out.
Yeah, it's only halfway through the year. Keep waiting, no problem. Next up, the Continued Hellscape, formerly known as Embracer. That's my team, everybody.
Ouch.
That's a funny name. On my list, I have 77 points. Split Fiction, Doom the Dark Ages, Citizen Sleeper 2, Rift of the Necrodancer, and 2 Point Museum. The one thing here that screwed me, well, Cozy did counterpick my unannounced mainline 3D Mario platformer, which is fair enough because it could not come out. That's a good counterpick. The one thing that screwed me, so Chad, I think I had, I don't know if it was this league or another one, where I dropped the Sea of Stars DLC.
Damn.
Which one of them in one of my leagues I kept it, and one of the leagues I dropped it. I don't remember if I had it in this league or not. The reason being is because I also picked up the Golden Idol DLC, which is released but does not have enough reviews on OpenCritic. So I was like, fuck, DLCs might not get enough reviews.
Ouch.
So it's sitting here right now. It's just like a slash. It's at a 0 basically. But there was a game last year that came out in May and then got its OpenCritic score in November because somebody decided to review it in November, and it was like enough reviews for the minimum. I'm not expecting that, but that was just a funny thing that happened.
Can we get on Metacritic? Can we review this game? Can we set up a website or something?
OpenCritic.
Yeah, it's got to be OpenCritic. Actually, I do know people who have OpenCritic. You have to be approved by OpenCritic. So maybe I'll ask my people who I know are on OpenCritic, hey, just go back and do that Golden Idol game real quick. Next up is Wario 64 Games from Joel. Wario 64 Games. He just took it off of the Twitter profile.
He probably just what do I do? Looked at his phone, saw a notification for Wario 64. I was like, that.
Listen, it's better than just his last name Productions. I'll give him that. He has 3 games scored for 45 points. Civilization, Like a Pirate, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. And he has Clear Obscure Expedition 33, which got him 24 points because it's a 92 over here on OpenCritic.
Credits where credits due. That is the highest rated game of any games that we currently have that are scored. He did good job in picking that one up.
Yeah, shout out to Joel for that one. And the last team with the best name, Paul Fart Ballchop. Chad's team currently has 0 points, just waiting for these games to come out. I think the next game confirmed to come out will probably be Death Stranding 2 for you, I believe.
When does Rematch come out?
No, it's going to be Mario Kart World because that comes out next week.
Mario Kart World is next week.
And that's going to be, that will probably overtake Expedition 33.
That is June
Unless
5th.
everyone's like, it sucks. That
Rematch
will probably be
No.
amazing.
No, you're probably going to have one or two highest
have a
rated
good
games on
June.
here. Yeah, your June's going to be good. You have Mario Kart, you have Death Stranding 2, and Rematch is also June. So yeah, you've got a couple things coming out in June. You're going to get points on the board. So that's it. Right now it's me in first, Joel or Cozy in second, Joel in third, and Chad in last place. But Chad's about to get a shit ton of points on the board. So very cool. That's it.
All right, and that brings us to our Game On Game Show. The Game On Our Game Show, we play a game called Game On, the Gaming Show on our Game Show. Game. Cozy.
Thank you, Chad. Today, we are going to be doing console honor roll for the Game Boy/Game Boy Color. I was initially looking to separate it into 2 separate lists, one for the original Game Boy and one for the Color, but Wikipedia only had one that combined both platforms, which, to be fair, is probably fine. Because if we did a list of just the best-selling Game Boy Color games, you know that the bottom rungs of that list would probably get into some pretty weird and esoteric and, rather unheard of titles. So for those of you who are tuning in who have not seen us play this game before, this works real simple. I will go down the list of the top 10 best-selling games on this particular platform. I will read off 4 clues for each game on the list. Everyone per entry on the list has 2 total guesses. The fewer clues that I have revealed, the more points they can potentially receive. If I've said no clues, they can get 5 points, 1 clue, 4 points, 2 clues, 3 points, 3 clues, 2 points, and all 4 clues, 1 point. And each contestant has a lock that they can declare once per game. A lock makes it so that only the contestant who locked in can give an answer for whatever entry I'm currently on. And the locked effect ends when an answer is given. Are we ready to go?
Very important question.
Yes.
I think it's a very safe guess. The Pokemon games are somewhere on this list. Are they broken out into individual games, or are they like generations of games that are grouped?
What I will say is that it is in line with how the Pokemon games were eventually grouped on the latter TMI with NPD lists that we did.
So yes, they were grouped together.
Yeah, they were grouped.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
With that, let's go ahead and start off with number 10. The 10th best-selling game on the Game Boy/Game Boy Color is a Game Boy Color exclusive. Clue number 2. This game contained a variety of extra modes and features to play around with, including a 2-player race mode and collectibles that could be used with the Game Boy printer. Clue number 3. Its title features the word deluxe.
Super Mario Deluxe.
That is correct. It is Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, which is a enhanced port/remake of the original Super Mario Bros. For the Game Boy Color. So you can give yourself...
Also, one of those little extras was a calendar, and you could go back and look any day that has ever been or ever will be, and you could like. So I was like, oh, I can go see what day my birthday was.
How many points is that, Cozy?
2 points for Chad.
2 for Chad. There you go.
And with that, we'll move on to number 9. The 9th best-selling game on the Game Boy/Game Boy Color is the first game in a long-running franchise. Clue number 2. The creator of this title, a well-known Japanese video game developer, wanted it to be easy to pick up and play for first-time gamers. Clue number 3. Its title features the word land, but it's not a Mario game.
Wario Land.
It is not Wario Land.
Kirby's Dream Land.
Fucking.
It is Kirby's Dream Land. Give yourself 2 points.
I didn't know that was a Game Boy game. I'm like, that was back in the day. I don't know which one it was. Shit.
Yeah, it was. The first Kirby game was a Game Boy game, was Kirby's Dream Land. And with that, we are on to number 8. The 8th best-selling game on the Game Boy/Game Boy Color is a game with a repetitive name. Clue number 2. The main protagonist, or rather, sorry, let me rephrase that. The main antagonist of this game, or at least the person that is antagonistic towards you, is a female pirate named Captain Syrup.
I have no fucking clue what this is.
Clue number 3. It was not the first video game to feature its protagonist, but it was the first game in which they were playable. And clue number 4.
Yoshi's Cookie.
It is not Yoshi's Cookie, which was a NES exclusive, I believe. Clue number 4. It's both the first and third entry in 2 different platforming series. I'll go ahead and I will read the clues again. Clue number 1. It's a game with a repetitive name. Clue number 2, the main antagonist of this game is a female pirate called Captain Syrup. Clue number 3, it was not the first game to feature its protagonist, but it was the first game in which they were playable. And clue number 4, it's both the first and third entry of 2 different platforming series. Going once.
Kudu.
No, it's not Kudu, which was a Game Boy Advance exclusive and only in Japan and Europe. It is Fuck. I said it at the top that it was a repetitive name. I should have also mentioned it's a confusing name to read out. It is Wario Land: Super Mario Land 3. Because if you remember, the whole deal here is Mario Land 1 on the Game Boy stars Mario. Mario Land 2,
that's right.
Wario is the antagonist. And then they're like, we're going to make a sequel to that where you take over as Wario. But rather than call it just Super Mario Land 3 or just call it Wario Land, they're like, we're going to call it Wario Land: Super Mario Land 3.
What a good idea.
Do I have permission to Google whether Yoshi's Cookie was on the Game Boy?
I can tell you for a fact Yoshi's Cookie was not on the Game Boy.
Oh, damn. There was some kind of Yoshi game that I played on the Game Boy. Like, not Game Boy
Maybe
Color,
it
but like
was.
Game Boy, like old school black and white. Well,
Yoshi Eats
green,
Chalk,
green.
the game.
You know what? I can say, I will say definitively Yoshi's Cookie is not on this list. So you can go and search up Yoshi's
Okay, I'm
Cookie
gonna
if you
Google
really want to.
Yoshi's Cookie Game Boy.
Yoshi's Cookie.
Yes, Yoshi's Cookie is a Game Boy game.
Okay. Maybe I'm confusing it with Wario's Woods, which was like an NES game that also started.
Wario's
1992
Wood.
tile matching puzzle game that was published by Nintendo for NES and Game Boy in 1992. So it was both.
There we go. All right. Cool. And with that, we'll move on to number 7. The 7th best-selling game on the Game Boy/Game Boy Color is a spin-off title of a popular franchise.
Aren't they fucking all? Good lord.
Dr. Mario.
It is not Dr. Mario. Clue number 2. It's a Game Boy Color exclusive that released in 1999. So coming in a bit late.
Pokemon Pinball. Oh, fuck. How
It
many
is Pokemon Pinball. You get 3 points for that
get
one.
one guess per
You get 2
clue?
per.
What's the thing?
2 per
clue?
entry on the list.
Oh, 2 per entry. Okay. Whew.
Yeah. Good job. Good job. And with that,
Wait, what
we
were the
move
other
on.
clues? I want to know what are the other clues.
Clue number 3, its name consists of 2 words, the second of which is a type of popular arcade game. Clue number 4 was, if you want to 100% complete this game, you'll have to catch them all.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. Number 6, the 6th best-selling game on the Game Boy/Game Boy Color is a title that released simultaneously on both the Game Boy and the NES. It's not Yoshi's Cookie. I'm just adding that in myself as a little bit of editorializing there, just so that you're not, thrown off course. Clue number 2. It's the first entry in its series. Clue number 3. It received a Luigi-themed spin-off in 2013 as part of the, quote, Year of Luigi. I guess none of you remember that
I'm
particular
blocked out. There's
spin-off.
nothing I can do, so.
It seems like Adam might know what it is. And clue number 4. It is a puzzle game.
Dr. Mario?
It is Dr. Mario. You will give yourself...
Luigi Mario? Or Dr. Luigi?
There was Dr. Luigi, which released in 2013.
Don't you remember, Chad? Don't you remember
No,
Dr. Luigi?
How could I forget
Yeah,
Dr. Luigi?
it's part of the Year of Luigi. All right. Number 5. The 5th best-selling game on the Game Boy/Game Boy Color is a sequel. Clue number 2. This game marked the debut appearance of a popular character.
Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins.
It is Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. You can give
Boom,
yourself
baby.
3 points for that. I will say this is the one list where you, Chad, are definitely at an advantage because you've been playing a lot of the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games as of recent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Also, Wario Land 3 was my shit as a kid, as was this one.
And moving on to number 4. The 4th best-selling game on the Game Boy/Game Boy Color takes place in Sarasa Land.
Sriracha? Sriracha Land? Is that what you said?
Sarasa. Clue number 2. The main antagonist of this game is an alien called Tatenga. Clue number 3. It marked the debut appearance of a popular princess.
Super Mario Land.
It is Super Mario Land 1. You can give yourself 2 points for that. Mario Land 1.
You had no idea how hard it was for me to not say Boy Meets World after you said the person is Topanga.
Yeah.
Mario Land 1, an interesting game in that, like, it's impressive the ways in which they were able to fit the Mario Bros. Experience down on the original Game Boy, but it's a weird game because, it takes place not in the Mushroom Kingdom, it takes place in Sarasa Land. The enemy of the game is not Bowser, it's an alien called Topanga. And there's all sorts of like other weird things in the game, like when you jump on a Koopa shell, the Koopa shell explodes, it turns into a bomb instead of you being able to kick it forward, which is probably just like a limitation thing. They weren't able to technically figure it out then, but fun but weird game.
A bunch of great YouTube documentaries out there about like the making of this game, how they did it, and then how they up-leveled it for 6 golden coins, the sequel.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like the jump forward in like Super Mario Land to Mario Land 2 is like one of those jumps where it's like, wow, like they really did some heavy lifting to really get the most out of the Game Boy's capabilities there to make that jump. And with that, we'll move on to number 3. The third best-selling game on the Game Boy / Game Boy Color was programmed in part by Satoru Iwata, former president of Nintendo. Clue number 2. This game is a sequel.
Pokemon
Clue number
Gold,
3.
Silver, Crystal.
It is Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. You can give yourself 3 points for that one. And we are on to number 2. The
Adam
second best-selling game on the Game Boy / Game Boy Color was the first title to be compatible with the Game Boy Link cable.
Pokemon Red and Blue.
Oh, that is incorrect. And because of that, the Atom lock is broken.
Rough.
Clue number 2.
Tetris.
It is Tetris. Chad, you can give yourself 3 points.
That one's cheating because it's like a Wii Sports thing where like every Game Boy came with
Yeah,
Tetris
I fucking hate Tetris numbers. They're all bullshit.
But yeah, you can link this shit up. That was one of those things when I was a kid where like asleep at like 9 o'clock at night in my bed, dark room, door flies open, light from the hallway comes in and blinds me, and mom's like, "Where's your Game Boy? Dad and I need to play Tetris." I'm asleep.
Wow. That didn't go in the direction that I thought it was going to go.
What do you think was going to happen?
I thought your mom was going to be like, "Where's your Game Boy? Like, you should not be playing video games in bed. You should be asleep."
No. That was Tetris. They were addicted.
Well, they call it the Tetris effect.
They were playing Tetris.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Land.
Although we also had Tetris Effect as well, but I was the only one who played that.
And with that, we've arrived at number 1.
Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yellow.
I said it first.
I'll give you both 5 points for that one.
Oh, great.
Ooh, yeah. Adam, what happened?
I literally didn't touch a Game Boy until 1997. Like, I did not give a shit. So, it is what it is.
And the final points for this particular game was Chad with 22 points and Adam with 7 points. Still a respectable showing from Adam, all things considered. Some other quick highlights from the further entries up on the list. At number 11, The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons and Ages, the 2 Capcom developed
It's like how they try to
Game Boy Color games
together.
Number 12, we referenced it earlier, Donkey Kong Land, the port of Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy, a game that I tried a couple of months ago and I couldn't really get into. I found it a little archaic compared to the Super Nintendo games, but still very, very graphically impressive for a Game Boy game for sure.
It's also really interesting that like they have Donkey Kong Land for the Game Boy, and then they actually also remade Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Color. Like,
right,
it's the same game, but another shot at it, basically.
Yeah, basically. Number 14, Pokemon trading card game.
Yeah,
which
remember that one.
One of those games that people have really nostalgic memories of, but I feel it would be difficult for me to get into that after having played Trading Card Pocket, because I feel like that game does like such a better job of just tutorializing how to play the game in like a modern context.
But spoiler alert, all these games play bad. If you go back and play them 30 years later, they're all pretty garbage.
Some are worse than others. 17, Donkey Kong 95, which is the game that initially advertises itself as being a port of the original arcade Donkey Kong game, but then reveals it's actually this crazy platformer that has all sorts of stuff going on. And then number 19 and number 20, you got Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 4, Battle of the Great Duelists, and 20, Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories. Just wanted to call those out because, Pokemon obviously dominates this list, but you also got a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game monster action in there as well. And that is that for console honor roll.
Dope. That's it. I can't wait till we get to Xbox 360 and it's like, all right, top 10 games are Call of Duty, FIFA, Call of Duty.
Oh, man.
Duty.
We still have quite a few consoles to go before we get there, by the way. We got lots of consoles.
Can't wait. That's it for Game On Game Show, and that's it for episode 396 of Respawn Aim Fire. Thank you, everyone, for listening. You have, again, homework to do. Go to patreon.com/Respawn Aim Fire, where you get to have exclusive access for 1 month to our extracurricular episodes. This last one you get access to is speculating about finding game devs in the background of Cozy's Japan trip photos. So you have access to that for another week until you get another one in the beginning of June. And everyone else who's not a patron, you get access now to April's episode, which was was that the wedding one? I asked this.
I believe no. The episode prior to the last one was the Dreams episode, where we talked about dreams.
Right. Joel's dreams and drugs in Paris and then dream homes. Dope. So yeah, go to Patreon, do that. And then also we're extending Barf into June. So we're playing Hollow Knight for both May and June. If you have strong feelings about Hollow Knight, positive or negative, and you want to have your feelings heard on our podcast, write into us. Email us, respawningfire@gmail.com. DM us on Blue Sky, or call us. Adam's phone number is... I can't even remember the area code.
I was just saying, I don't even think you could do it off the top of your head. Yeah.
I know like 3 area codes, and none of them are Kentucky.
It's not one of those, yeah.
So yeah, write those in. If you want to be on the show, certainly welcome to as well. And anything else? No?
I can reveal, no? I can reveal right here and right now that his phone number is 505-6761, which is the amount of American dollars and cents. Amount of American dollars and cents that you need for 69,420 Canadian dollars.
Oh, look at that. Call back.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, here's our usual sign off. Does anyone remember what the funny number was for Canadian dollars? That's the American number.
It's like 94, 95, something like that.
70 is 69. 69.